Alright, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular the AWD1100 C# Programming Language Fundamentals course, I've been doing a series of video presentations based on the book used for the course, which as you can see on the screen is Murock's C# 2015. Now I've done several lectures already, and I've done lectures on chapters 1 through 6. I am going to go through all 26 chapters, alright? But not only am I doing this series of lectures on each chapter, and in particular the PowerPoints of each chapter, but I'm creating two sets of a perpetual payroll program. One of those is done, it's a GUI program. And I think this is the latest one that I have right here. So if you take a look at it, this is what it looks like. It allows you to put in a first name, a last name, and I'm looking at that. I don't know why there's an I in there. The first name, the last name, the number of hours that someone worked, the hourly rate that they make. All right, then when you click this, it does the gross pay with a simple hours times rate. Okay, pretty obvious, I think. I'm not going to say simple, but it should make sense. Then each time we figure out a gross pay, we add 1 to our total number of employees. We add the current gross pay to the total of all the gross pays. Then we divide the total of all gross pays by the number of employees to get the average gross pay. Now, I hope that makes sense. There's also code in here that's built in so that, as you can see, if I put in something, I'm going to show you a little testing first. If I leave this blank, I get an error message. All right? That's the only check that we're making for first name. Notice for last name, we're making the same check. All right? Now, notice for hours worked, we get that it was non-numeric, which it is because there's nothing in there. So that'll handle that. It'll handle literally something that's non-numeric, and notice it removes what's there. It'll also handle things that are out of range. All right. So when I finally put in a valid hours, say 50, and now it'll give me the same thing for hourly rate. So again, if I put in something non-numeric, notice the errors, non-numeric as opposed to out of range. All right, so I'm making my error more specific. So I come in here and I say 20. Boom, gives me $1,000. 50 times 20, we're not worrying right now about overtime or anything else. So what do we have? We now have one employee who worked 50 hours times $20 an hour, giving them $1,000. So 1, 1,000, and 1,000. I click OK, and you notice how now all of that stuff disappears, and my cursor's back here. So I say Sally Smith, and Sally makes $60 an hour and worked 30 hours. Now think about it. That should give us $1,800 here, 2 here, $2,800 here, and $1,400 here. And you can see that indeed it does. Now I could keep going, and I've got a clear thing in case I goof up. I can clear all my totals if I want to, and I can exit. But the key takeaway right here is two different things. First of all, as you can see, I'll just say no. I'm trying to check for all different error conditions. Blank, blank, blank or non-numeric or out of range, blank or non-numeric or out of range. All right? And since this is a GUI program, and you can see it right here too, it's a GUI program. GUI programs are what are called event-driven. So they're based on me actually doing something like clicking a button. All right, why am I telling you that? Because if you notice in here, I've got if statements. And if I left the text box blank, I get a message box, I set the focus, and I return. All right? If it's not numeric, I clear out what's in there, set the focus, and return. This is different from what I've been doing. So I'm going to grab this code. But what I want you to understand is if it is non-numeric, we do this and get out. If we get down to here, they put in a number. That number can possibly be out of range, but it's a number. So this is one type of error condition, non-numeric. This is another type of error condition, out of range. We do the same thing then with the hourly rate. All right? So hopefully that makes some sense. The other thing is this looks harmless enough. That's doing the non-numeric check. It's saying attempt to take the number, the value that we pass in. Remember that number in that case is taken from a text box, so it's automatically a string. We're saying take that number and attempt to parse it or convert it to a double. Okay? If you can, put it in the word test. If that works, it's going to return true. If it can't do it because there's nothing in it or it's non-numeric, it'll return false. So if it returns false, that's when this is going to fire. Otherwise, it returned true, and that's going to fire. And we do the same thing here. If it returns false, this fires. If it returns true, this fires. Now, on the other hand, I'm going to grab this for just a second. Give me a second, if you would, please. Throw that code in there. And I'm going to grab the code for the non-numeric also and just throw that in there. If I can find it. Here's the other one. Right here. As always, although it may not seem like it when you're looking right here, there's a method to my madness. All right? And what do I mean? Well, what I want you to look at is, again, that's the if statement. This is the check that I'm making, and I only put the one in here for hours worked. Again, this is checking for non-numeric. All right? This is checking for out of range. All right, so why am I telling you that? Because when you go through a program that is a GUIized program like this, this is user-driven. Nothing happens until the user presses a button. On the other hand, when we go to the other example that we have here, this one, all right, and do I have the right program up here? I want to make sure I do. Chapter 04 Payroll, I don't think I do. Let me get rid of this one. And I want this one. When you write a console application, which is what we have in this example, console applications are what are referred to as event-driven. Now, they really both are event-driven, okay? Because the event that happens here is me pressing one of these buttons. However, the event that happens here is me keying in something directly. All right, you might think, well, there's no big difference. There's a big difference between these. All right, again, this is the wrong copy. So I'll have to find the other one, but I wanted to mention that when you have a GUIized program, it's not always that easy to write a lot of while loops. You end up, in my humble opinion, writing more if statements than you do while loops. Now, if this is empty, okay, I'm going to have to find then my example. But I wanted to say that I'm going to come back in just a couple minutes, and I am going to talk about how the equivalent GUIized program for Chapter 4, non-GUIized, I'm sorry, program for Chapter 4 is different. And then I'm going to make some changes to it for Chapter 5. I'll be back to do that in just a couple minutes. Sorry, this is a shorter lecture.